What's going on, guys? It's Ben with liftedimports.com, and today, as usual, we're going to talk about some off-road Subaru stuff. Now, I've got to apologize in advance. You might hear some background noise right now because it is hot as crap, and I got a fan going because it's like 100 degrees out here in the old Lifted Imports garage. So anyways, just want to give you a heads up on that. But let's go ahead and jump into what we want to talk about today. And I wanted to discuss some basics on different things you can purchase for your Subaru Outback if you are wanting to take it off-road. Whether you just bought your Outback, or you're planning to buy an Outback, or you're considering whether or not it's maybe the right car for you or not, and you're curious about what kind of things you can do for it to build it up to be a little bit more capable on the trails. These are going to be a few things that you can purchase that will absolutely make it a little bit more capable when you're out off the pavement. If you want to check out more information about off-roading your Subaru, if you want to check out some good build features from other people that have already lifted their Subarus and are taking them off-road, you can head over to liftedimports.com. That's a website that I've kind of been curating for a while now, and you can go over there and check that out. Let's go ahead and get right into it. If you want to take your Outback, whether it's a brand new one or an old one, and you want to prepare it to be a little bit more capable for off-road use, one of the first things you can buy is a lift kit. Now, there's a lot of options for lift kits. I'm not going to go into what you should be purchasing as far as a lift kit goes. I'll just give you a few names that you can go look at. You can look at Anderson Design and Fabrication, you can look at Rally Tech, you can look at Primitive Racing. If you're overseas, you may want to check out Subi Lift Oz. They make some good kits as well. Spacer lifts are just fine. That's what I run. You might hear a lot of disparaging comments about spacer lifts, but I don't have a problem with them. I've been running them for a long time, and I think that they actually let Subarus do what they can do best to their fullest potential. Now, one of the biggest benefits of having a lift kit installed on your Subaru is you will not only be able to fit a larger tire, but you're going to also have more clearance when you're on the trails. Having that extra clearance is going to just give you that little bit of an edge that you need, allow you to just kind of get around and feel a little bit more confident once you leave the pavement. Okay, the next thing that I would recommend purchasing either during or after your lift kit purchase would be a set of skid plates. Now, if you have an automatic transmission, I'm going to recommend getting a front skid plate that protects your oil pan from damage, and then a center or a mid armor skid plate. Whatever it is, you want something to protect your transmission if it is an automatic. Now, you could also purchase a rear diff skid plate. You can get away without a rear diff skid, but I have one. I like using it. I like having it there just to make sure that if I get hung up on a rock, I can easily slide right off of it with no issues. But it's kind of up to you what fits in your budget and what you want to do. Now, if you don't have an automatic transmission or a CVT and you have a manual transmission, you don't need to worry about it because you're not going to have a transmission pan the way that we will have one if we're running automatics. Now, as far as skid plates go, my two favorite companies are going to be Anderson Design and Fabrication or Primitive Racing. Either one's going to be great. I'll leave it up to you to decide what you like. The Primitive Racing skid plates are going to be a little bit easier to install, but there are benefits to either one. The ADF skid plates are probably just a tad bit more rigid because they have bends on the sides that come up and give the skid plate a little bit more rigidity. But you couldn't make a bad decision with either of those. You may also want to check out companies like Rally Tech and LP Aventure. I like the ADF and Primitive skid plates because I think they are the best bang for the buck, in my opinion. Every time I've shopped them around, they seem to be the best value for the money. And again, those are two companies. If you guys know me, you know I love both of these brands. I run a ton of their products, and they've always done me very well. Lots of great customer support if you run into any problems. All right, the next thing that I would say you should do is to upgrade your tire if your Subaru has all-season tires on it right now. A good all-terrain or mud-terrain tire is going to give you a ton of capability when you leave the road. It's arguably going to be the biggest game changer as far as what you can feel in terms of capability. I'd almost be willing to like go on record and say that it will be the thing that will give you the most grip and make you feel like you have a lot more capability and climbing ability in your Subaru. Now, if you have an Outback Wilderness, your Outback already came with a set of Yokohama Geolanders, most likely, the Geo15s. That's a great tire. You could stick with those or upgrade it to something even more aggressive if you'd like. I'll leave that up to you, but an all-terrain tire at minimum is what I would run. Now, when you jump to an all-terrain tire, be careful. You don't want to go with something that's too heavy. If you can avoid something that's rated for LT or light truck, that is ideal, because with a Subaru, we don't really need something that's rated for a full body-on-frame 4x4. May not be, you know, something that you need to spend that money on, and it's going to weigh down the drivetrain just a little bit, having that extra weight. Because when you add weight at the wheels and tires, you're amplifying that weight pretty substantially, because the engine has to physically rotate it. Whereas if you just took 20 pounds and put it in the back of your Subaru, you'd never know it was there. But if you take 20 pounds and distribute that to all four corners of the vehicle, it shows up in loss of acceleration, loss of fuel economy, loss of overall power, and increased braking distance, things of that nature. So you want to try to stay as low in weight as you can. I've got articles and videos about this. You can go check those out if you want. It's up to you. But just a quick tip there. Make sure you don't go overboard with tire weight. Okay, now once you get those upgraded tires, you may want to purchase a 5th full-size spare, because if you are running slightly bigger, oversized off-road tires, the stock donut is just not going to work. It's going to be way too small for you to be running in the event that you have a tire failure. You're almost always going to want to make sure that you've got a full-size spare, or that you're really good at repairing damaged tires. But carrying a full-size spare is a great idea. So what are you going to do with that full-size spare? Well, my opinion is one of the most convenient ways to carry a full-size spare in your Subaru is to get a rear tire carrier of some sort. There's a lot of good options out there. My favorite is the Rigged Supply Ultra Swing. Rigged Supply is honestly one of the better brands, in my opinion, that's out there making rear tire carriers. They're always innovating. It's just a good company run by good people, and they're constantly improving their products. Now, are they expensive? Yes, they're very expensive. Buying good products that are made here in the United States with good materials, made by people that actually care about you, costs money. It costs money to have employees here stateside that are trying to feed their family while offering you a good product. It is what it is. It's a one-time investment. That Ultra Swing will last you multiple vehicles. The thing I like about having a rear tire carrier is it makes it very easy to mount and dismount a spare tire without having it on the roof. If you have it up on the roof, it can be difficult, and for some people downright dangerous. If you got some people that are trying to lift like a 55-pound, you know, wheel and tire combination, that could be a recipe for injury, you know, like lifting something overhead like that and getting it down and then trying to put it on the ground while you're working on a, you know, damaged tire. You could arguably say that that's something that could cause neck injuries, back injuries, maybe even a shoulder injury for certain people. You know, and I mean, it works. Like I don't care. I'll pull a spare tire off the roof. I don't give a fudge. But I know that's not really in the cards for everybody. And I also like that the Ultra Swing doesn't inhibit the use of your hatch. So the Ultra Swing, as the name implies, actually can swing right out of the way of your hatch, and then you can get into your hatch and use it like no problem. So it's super convenient, it's well built, and having a fifth full-size spare. It's a good practice for those of us that are heading off-road regularly. All right, now this is optional, but you may also want to jump to a rally style or rally inspired wheel, such as the Method MR502s, Black Rhino Boxers, Sparco Terras, Motegi 139s, any kind of off-road wheel. You might want to do this because in a lot of cases they are slightly lighter than the stock wheels, and you may also want to downsize your wheels. So when you downsize wheels, that allows you to have an even bigger tire with more sidewall, and more sidewall means that you can air down a little bit more, and means that your tires just in general are going to be a little bit more durable and offer a bit more cushion when you're off-road. And that's what I do every time I'm building a Subaru for off-road use. I always get the smallest wheel that I can fit with a tire that is not overkill, but that has substantially more sidewall. Aftermarket wheels can also give you a slightly lower offset, which means your wheels will come out a little bit wider. There's obviously something to be said about going overboard with offset. You don't want crazy negative offset to where your wheels are sticking out and you look like you're riding around in a wagon or something. You know, what's the saying? If some is good, more is better. Some of us live by that, but when it comes to wheel offset, that's not really the case. A plus 15 is just fine, and the benefit of it is it's going to create a slightly wider track, which can sometimes be advantageous when you are on the trails. Just having a little bit wider footprint there can sometimes help you out a little bit. Plus, it technically, on paper, can add a little bit more stability when you're driving the vehicle on pavement, especially if you're lifted and you've got a slightly higher center of gravity. Okay, the next one is kind of something that I like personally. This might not be super exciting to all of you, but I really like upgraded batteries. I do not like cheap wet cell lead acid batteries from the parts store. I don't like stock Subaru batteries. I run a lot of accessories, you know, things like air compressors, light bars, winches. I ask a lot of my battery when I'm out on the trails, and I absolutely think that if you want a little extra peace of mind, a good AGM battery from a good brand, there may be some disagreement on what good brands are, but I personally run Full Throttle batteries, which are a company that is made by Full River Batteries. Full River is a great company. They've been making great batteries for a long time. That's what I use. You don't have to use those, but it's what I like, and they have absolutely done a super good job of never leaving me stranded, always keeping my winch powered up, always keeping my lights going, always starting my car. I've never had a problem, and I have completely abused these batteries. Like, I own 3 of them, and I've discharged 2 of them multiple times, and they're perfectly fine, no problems. Now we get down all the way to like negative 15, negative 20 in the winter here, and then we get up as high as about 115 degrees in the summer. Typically, I'd say 105 is kind of common in the summer, but there are days where we get up to like 115. So it's not quite Arizona weather, but it gets hot. And I've never had a problem with these batteries despite the crazy variance in temperature that we have out here. Now, one of the big benefits of an AGM battery, or an absorbed glass mat battery, is the fact that these type of batteries are resistant to vibration, and vibration is one of the biggest things that we subject our batteries to when we're off-road. Every time you subject a battery to vibration, you're breaking down the lead plates inside of a traditional battery, but with an AGM battery, you don't have to worry about it. And I definitely think it's something that a lot of people should look into. You should consider it. They are somewhat expensive, but I can tell you that they'll last you a lot longer than anything you get from the parts store, and you're gonna have that peace of mind of knowing that, hey, when I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I don't have to worry about my battery failing on me and leaving me stranded. It's not going to be a problem. Or if you're stuck somewhere and you're trying to get your winch to run and your battery just can't handle it because you've been beating the crap out of it all day, that to me, that's priceless. I spend less money in the long run buying something that's going to last me anywhere from 5 to 8 years. I've already got 3 years on my first AGM battery from Full Throttle. Not a sign of it going bad. That battery is absolutely on point. I love it. Every single one of my batteries is mounted using a Melee Design Firm battery box. The reason I use these boxes, well, at least one of the main reasons that I use them, is the design allows for the battery to be secured very firmly inside the vehicle without putting concentrated pressure across the case of the battery. Now, give me 1 second. I'm going to grab a battery real quick. Probably going to get some kind of skin cancer or something from this, but whatever. Okay, so this is a traditional wet cell battery, or a lead acid battery, flooded, whatever you want to call it. I replaced this battery. We put an AGM battery in that car instead. And when you have a traditional battery tie down, it goes over the top of the battery right down the center, and over time those battery tie downs can put concentrated pressure right across that top of the case and can actually cause deformation in the casing of the battery. Now, it doesn't look like that happened on this battery too badly. Probably won't be able to see this, but this battery is actually bulging, so the sides are swelled up, which means that there's corrosion built up inside of this battery. And this really wasn't even that old of a battery. I think they had had this in their car for 2.5 or 3 years before we swapped it out with an AGM battery from Full Throttle. But I definitely think that an upgraded battery is something that anybody who goes off-road should consider using. And again, I really like the Melee Design Firm battery mounts. They have a tie-down option. They have full battery boxes. The battery boxes are actually designed for rally racing, but you can also use them to relocate your battery anywhere you want, or you can use them to mount an additional, like a deep cycle battery, for example, if you're going to run like a trail fridge or any kind of accessory that requires a deep cycle battery that's going to be running while the car is shut off. But I just really think that having reliable power when you're out in the middle of nowhere is very, very important, especially with all of the demanding electronic systems that we have in our cars today. Okay, and the final thing that I think you should consider purchasing and putting on your new Outback is a winch bumper. Now, currently, I'm going to recommend that you look at either the worn winch bumper or the Body Armor 4x4 winch bumper. The worn winch bumper was the first to come out, probably the better quality one. The Body Armor 4x4, from what I can tell, it came out afterwards and it's kind of a copy. They'll both probably do just fine for you. What these allow you to do is not only run a winch on the front of your Subaru, but they're also going to give you 2 recovery points up front. I think having recovery points is super important because Subarus don't really come with them from the factory. Yes, I know you have the tow point that's behind the bumper, but that's not really a rated recovery point. I would not apply dynamic load to that recovery point ever. I just wouldn't. And you might say, oh, but I've done it so many times. Okay, well, there's a lot of people who've done all sorts of dangerous things multiple times and never gotten hurt. It works until it doesn't, and I've seen the aftermath of those coming out of the bumper, and I take recovery very seriously. I think that people forget how serious it really is. You're basically working with heavy machinery with lots of force, and you can absolutely, for lack of a better word, cause a person to cease to exist if you are not careful during recoveries. So having recovery points is super important. It's kind of a must in my opinion. These winch bumpers will also allow you to fit, I think, up to like a 5,500 pound winch. So you can get like the worn Axon 550, you could get, I know Super Winch makes some different options. I think even some of those Harbor Freight Badland winches you could probably fit in there. But that will be probably enough to get your Subaru out of almost anything that you could be stuck in. Now, if you're really worried about it, you could definitely run a snatch block to double your pulling power. So instead of 5,500 pounds, you now have like an 11,000 pound capacity that you can use. If you don't know what a snatch block is, you can look it up. There's tons of good info out there from some of the different 4x4 channels, but basically a snatch block is like a pulley system, and it allows you to exponentially increase your winching power. Okay, so that kind of sums up some of the major purchases that I might guide you towards if you are trying to get some different accessories and mods for your new Outback and you want to take it off-road. That is a good list of things that I think will get you started and to give you the most bang for your buck. Now, you can pick and choose some of these different things. You know, you don't have to buy all of these. You don't need all of these to get off-road, and this isn't even scratching the surface of what's available out there. There's still things like torque lockers. There's still things like camping accessories that you might want to use for overlanding. There's still things like trailer hitches that you might want to get in order to mount things like the Rig Supply Ultra Swing that I was talking about earlier. There's all sorts of stuff out there that's available. These are just some that I hand-picked that are things that I like and things that I've purchased variations of. Now, if you want to see the full article that's got links to all this stuff that I'm talking about here, you can head over to the liftedimports.com website. I will pin the article in the comments so you can go check it out, see what you think, and you can go look at these products one by one, figure out what the price is for you, because you know the prices are going to go up and down. You may be watching this video in a year and there might be new stuff that's coming out, and I always try to keep these articles updated when I can. Life gets a little wild, but head over there, check it out. Anyways, that's probably enough of me rambling. I hope that this was helpful for you. If it was, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, say what's up. Until next time, see you guys out on the trail. Hope you have a fantastic day.